Welcome to Talk About It Tuesday. This is Caryn Vanderbilt. She is the Matrix RE of Chicago, where we currently are.
Where we currently are. You guys all made it here finally.
We did. It's cold, just like it is in Boston. So it's actually a little colder here than I think it is at home, but that's okay. I could be wrong. We just had a storm, I guess.
We're gonna get one tomorrow.
Oh, gross.
Yeah.
So, we are here to talk about it like it's Tuesday. And Caryn is going to pick our subject and kind of start the ball, and then I'm just going to converse, and we're going to go from there.
Yeah, so we were talking, and I have so many different stories and things in my life that I feel like would be relevant topics that I didn't know how to choose. So I felt like maybe the common denominator in all of those things to talk about would be a great idea.
Yes.
Right? So that common denominator for me is all the life experiences that I've had were never really my specific experiences. They were always about someone else or things that particularly pertained to someone else in my life, but that I was part of because they were people that were close to me or family members of mine. And so when something like that, with like anything happens, sometimes we feel like it's not our story. And it's not our story to tell, or that it's not okay for us to react and talk about those things because it wasn't our thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm learning, and still learning every day, but learned over the years, is whatever my part in that experience was, that is my story. And it's okay to talk about, even though someone else's life is involved in that. Does that make any sense?
It does. It makes perfect sense. So, for like a hypothetical example, say my grandmother raised me, and this is all not true at all. So that's why I'm going here. My grandmother raised me. She was a raging crack addict, and I ended up having to take care of her. But I wasn't the crack addict, so I didn't feel like I could talk about it. But it would be my story to tell because I was taking care of the crack addict grandma. For whoever's living that life, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there are so many little things in our lives, especially in our family lives, that happen to us over the years. And like the one thing particularly for me, that I have some of my own challenges and things that I am focusing on, like working through and working with professionals to get through and really like understand and like make myself a healthier person. There are things that happen to us over time and we feel like, well, I'm just a little down because of what just happened, or, I'm not depressed. I'm just depressed about what just happened. And I think there's a very fine line between understanding when you really do need to reach out for help because you're going through something, and when there's a situation that has caused you to just be emotional and go through those moments in life. So, for me, it was like thing after thing after thing, and I found myself in a place that I was like, well, I don't have the things that other family members had. I don't have those mental health issues. These are just situational things that are putting me in this mood or this kind of like sad place or dark place.
Mm-hmm.
So coming to a place that you realize there's nothing situational going on right now and I still feel this way, that's when it's time to like reach out, find someone to talk to, find a professional to talk to, and start addressing those things, because it can take you down a dark place if you're not really like working through those things in life.
Absolutely.
Right?
And then when you're finding a professional, it's kind of like dating. You have to find the one that fits. So there are many times that I've met with mental health professionals that it was not the right fit or it didn't click, especially when I was younger. And I was like, oh my God, kill me. Like, I cannot. So it's important to not give up if the first person doesn't resonate with you and you don't connect and you're like, oh shit, well this therapy thing isn't for me. It's probably just that therapist isn't for you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You've got to find the right one. Just like you have to find the right people to date and the right people to be friends with and the right place to work. Like, nothing is that, and sometimes it is that easy and it's amazing, but it's usually not that easy.
Right.
And don't give up just because of that. The other thing I wanted to say is, like, if you're not sure whether it's situational or a thing, like, when in doubt, reach out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I have someone very close to me whose parents both passed away in a very short period of time. And this person, like, is such a happy person 24 hours a day, like, sees the bright side of things all day, every day. And after losing both parents, you know, he was in a really kind of a dark place.
I would be.
And was, like, mortified to reach out and say, I need a little help getting through this time in my life. When he finally did, it was the best thing he could have done. He found somebody to talk to. He actually did go on a medication to help him mentally and emotionally get through that time in his life, but only if he was willing to continue the therapy and the conversations with the professional. And when he felt like he was in a really good, strong place, and then they weaned him off the medication and he's back to his happy-go-lucky self with better tools to be able to deal with those challenges when they come day to day. The flip side of that is, like, for myself, I've been through some things in life that were really difficult to get through at the time. And I always felt like, okay, you know, this too shall pass, right? Like, we'll get over this hump and then I'll be better again. My dad passing was a really hard time in my life. He ended up taking his own life right before my wedding. It was a lot for me to go through and to deal with. And I always just felt like, okay, at some point, like, I'm going to grieve, I'm going to go through the process, and then I'm going to come back out the other side. And I found myself not coming back out the other side of that in a good place and in a healthy way. And it was that time that I was like, ding, 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 like, and it's time. It's time to go find somebody to talk to. It's time to go make sure that I'm not experiencing something that is more than just the situation that I was in. So, you know, I think that that's just so important, is to really, like, be able to evaluate where you're at. And if you're in a place that you can't sit in that and evaluate where you're at, then it's definitely time to find somebody to talk to. Right? But if you feel like, you know, this is just because of what just happened and I need to go through the grieving process, or I need to go through the anger phase and I need to work through this, it's still a good idea to find somebody to talk to. But, you know, sometimes we need help figuring out, is this a chemical imbalance in me? Is this a mental health challenge and struggle that I need a professional, I need a doctor, I need a therapist. Like, sometimes you need someone to help you break that down for yourself and figure out where you're at. And if this is just a temporary thing, or if this is a lifelong thing that you are going to have help to manage. Does that make sense?
It does. And regardless of which, like, getting coping skills is always helpful.
Yeah.
Getting tools to deal with the shit life throws at you is a really great thing. And you can get those from books, but therapists can help you find the ones that will actually work for you and your motivation style, because we don't all run the same way, right? So reading self-help book after self-help book, while very, you know, enlightening, doesn't always help if you're not the person that's going to do anything that the self-help book said.
Yeah, I can read all the books in the world. I can listen to every podcast I want to, right? But unless you're sitting face to face with a professional that works in the mental health capacity of the medical world, that person can give anybody, that person can get everybody tools. But when they get to know you, they can give you the right tools for you. And I think that's the big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. You know, and so Speaking of podcasts.
Speaking of those podcasts.
Mine is not meant to necessarily give anybody tools.
No.
So if you're getting tools from this, awesome. I'm so glad that I could be of service. But it's more so people don't feel alone.
Yeah.
So people understand. And so that the conversation is started and that people talk about mental health more. And the only way to get people to talk about it more is to talk about it more. So I am.
Yeah.
But, you know, I encourage whomever to like find what works for you. You can always reach out. I'm more than happy to even like there are some websites that I can refer to that can help you find therapists in your area, which is how I found my prescriber that I'm seeing right now, whom I love. She is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's really important, and there's no shame in going on medication and being on medication to help the chemicals in your brain do what they're supposed to be doing versus whatever they might be doing. And there's a lot of stigmas when it comes to medication and therapy and talking about mental health and talking about your experiences. And people are very guarded when they speak about them. Like, even you.
Yeah.
Right now. Like, it's, you know, you're talking about things that you shared a lot about your dad, and thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. But, like, it takes a lot sometimes, but there's no shame in telling your truth and your experiences. And if people are judging you for that, that's their fucking problem. First of all, fuck them. But also, like, that's just how I feel. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. But like, there's nothing wrong with having feelings, with expressing them, and with getting help. There's something wrong with having feelings of like murderous rage and acting on those. Please don't do that. I'm not encouraging that. But
there's nothing wrong with having healthy feelings.
Yes, healthy or unhealthy feelings that you get help with. But don't be ashamed to be vulnerable, because vulnerability is strength. Like, it's not, it's so cliche, but it's not really strong to sit there and be guarded and have your walls up and never let anybody in. That's not strong. Like, a turtle in its shell isn't strong. It's just got a shell. Like, true strength is being vulnerable and going through it and doing it anyway and allowing people in. And if you get hurt, acknowledging the hurt, working through it, and continuing to be vulnerable. That's really true strength, because it's so hard once you're hurt to allow yourself to be vulnerable again. So that's my little soapbox moment on that.
It's a good soapbox. Yeah, and like, I share my story about my dad, right? And everybody says like, oh, was he sick? How old was he? There's all these like, well, is it okay that he did that because he was sick? And I'm like, no, that's never okay that anyone does that, right? Like, there's always a question of like, well, what's the backstory? Like, if there's a good enough backstory, then you shouldn't be that upset. And
it's always gonna hurt.
That's ridiculous, right? Like, either way, I lost my father. The way that I lost my father was even more painful. But I share my story, and, you know, I have the semicolon tattoo for anyone that sees it that needs someone to have that conversation. And I personally came across that because, you know, my siblings and I were searching, and I mean searching, for someone out there that had had a similar experience to like help support us, or groups that my siblings and I could go to, or we were searching for something that fit our story, and there was nothing anywhere to be, like, nowhere to be found, because we were adult children that lost a parent in that way. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just readily available for us. And you know, so I share my story because I think every time that anyone that goes through something hard finds someone else that relates in any kind of way, just to make someone else feel like they're not alone in what they're going through. Like, I think there are strength in numbers. I think there is strength in knowing that your experience is not something to be ashamed of, that it's a life experience, you know, that people have, and that You know, the story that things do get better and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there are tools and there are coping mechanisms and there are ways to really work through something in a healthy way. Like anytime that we can share our story, whatever that story is, I think that we're doing a real service to others out there that are looking for common ground. Somebody to say, I'm here, I've been through it, like you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we can do that, I think we are just helping everyone out there.
So let's talk about stress. I'm cracking. Sorry, under the pressure. So, stress is something that Caryn and I both deal with.
Yeah.
And everybody deals with.
Everybody does.
Everyone deals with it. And it can be hard to deal with. Especially depending on what you're. I mean, it's hard to deal with no matter what, realistically. But I feel like when you're in a position similar to ours, where there is no start and stop to your workday on paper, and there's always something more to be done, it never really ends, it can really elevate the stress even more.
Even if you're not in a situation like we are, right? Like, so many people are in a situation that, like, that stress level doesn't go up and then come down.
It just stays there.
It's just here, and then it's here, and then it's here, and you're at work, and it's here, and then you come home, and it's here, and whether you have kids or not, it's here, or cats or dogs, or right? Like, you always have someone else to take care of, and there's stress, and jobs, careers, and there's stress, and you know, other things in life, and family, and relationships, and everything. Like, I find more often now than ever before, I feel like everyone's stress level is just here. There's never a drop in time for us to, like, recuperate before we have to physically deal with another stressor in our lives, right?
I feel like you're completely right, and I have a lot of thoughts on why. So I'm going to go into
do
those.
you?
Yes, I do.
I bet you do.
So, I do. I think society today as a whole is in such, American society.
Yeah.
Or at least, like, not just the United States, but even Canada. Like, American society is so focused on productivity, right? And are you productive?
Yeah.
Are you productive at work? Is what you're doing productive? Is your hobby productive? Like, all of these things, like
a certain level of achievement.
Yes.
In everything that we do.
Every single thing.
Yeah.
And doing, 8 hours worth of work within an 8 hour time period is not acceptable. What you need to do is 24 hours worth of work in an 8 hour time period, or 48 hours worth of work in a 24 hours period. Like, there's such pressure to do more, achieve more. How are you not? Why aren't you? So and so over there is, and everybody should live up to that standard and do what so and so does. Well, I'm not so and so. Sorry. And not everybody's the same, and not everybody's going to be as productive as the other. And productivity is all situational and interpretive, and it's from perspective. Like, one idea of being productive is not the same as another person's idea of being productive. So it's really, really hard when everything out there is really telling you, like, push, push, push. And then on top of that, the second we have 2 seconds to ourselves, we take out our phones and we go on Facebook or Instagram or something, and we distract ourselves or focus on that. And then I'm currently on a Facebook break. I'm on a Facebook hiatus. I can't tell you how many times I open the fucking app accidentally all day long.
Just out of habit.
Out of habit.
Yeah.
The second I stop doing something, I open Facebook, then I close it. The other day, I opened Facebook, I closed it because I was like, oh, fuck, I'm not going on Facebook. I liked something first because it was a cat dad and his cat, and it was cute.
Of course.
And then I love my cat dad group. So then I closed it. I'm in there's a cat dad group. There's a couple of them, but the cat dad, I came for the cute cats and I stayed for the hot cat dads. Shout out. Super great group. So accepting. Honestly, it's the only beautiful thing on Facebook that I love. Like, trans cat dads, like non-binary cat dads. There's so much love. Everybody's so supportive. It's fucking beautiful. It's what the world should be, and it's got cats. It's fucking great. But besides that group, Facebook has been stressing me out.
Yeah.
Beyond everything else, because everybody's life, everybody has difficulty in their life. And people share it on Facebook and in social media, and that's great. Like, getting support, venting, I get it. I think it's great. But seeing everybody and me wanting to take care of everybody and pulling those feelings into myself and feeling responsible for the world,
yeah,
it fucks with me. And then the political climate is a fucking shit show, and I am almost as far left as you can get. And seeing anything else like has been really killing me inside, because I just don't understand how people don't want to help other people and take care of other people, because there's just a lot. Like, what would Jesus do is not what is happening. He would not do what's happening. He'd help the poor, god damn it. But it's just really, really stressful, and seeing, and I'm not even like religious, but like, god damn it. So it really has been fucking freaking me out and stressing me out, and people shitting on Nancy Pelosi for ripping the thing, and then other people being like, and then people shitting on so-and-so, and I'm like, I can't take it. So I had to take a break, and it's been really nice, honestly. The thing I miss is birthdays and cat dads. Like, yeah. I can't wish people birthdays because I don't know when their birthday is, because Facebook has always told me.
Always. Thank you.
The only people I know are like my really close family members and my really close friends, and that's it. And then my ex-boyfriends. Happy birthday, ex-boyfriends.
Well, and I think, like, what you're talking about is exactly what we were talking about with stress. Like, you know, all the things in life, and then things on social media and everything digital that we consume, that we look at and we think, like, well, I'm not living up to this standard, and I'm not, you know, achieving everything this person's achieving. And, you know, they're saying all these things, so I should be saying all of these things, but you can't say all of those things, right? Like, everything in life that we deal with on a daily basis, and then everything in our digital life that tells us you should be this productive, and you should be this fantastic, and your life should look like an Instagram filter, and your life should be, right? Like, there isn't a moment that it ever ends.
No, and you have to make that moment for yourself, which is what I'm doing by not doing Facebook. But as I was saying, I literally started this a few days ago. It's been great for me, but I literally closed the app, like opened it, shit, like the cat dad thing, closed it, and then immediately reopened it, because I was like, oh, phone, Facebook. Like, I'm so programmed to open Facebook and look at Facebook and scroll for fucking 15 minutes. Like, it's like a blink of an eye. Like, I just lost all this time. But I wasn't doing anything, but I also wasn't doing nothing. Right. I was filling my brain with things that stressed me out. So, by taking this break, I'm really helping myself reduce that stress from that side. I still open Instagram and look at Instagram because Instagram is part of our jobs.
Right.
But I'm considering taking a break from that too at some point, because I just really need to focus on me. And I find that personally, for me, there's a difference between like vegging out and like reading a book or playing a video game or like even watching some TV and scrolling through social media.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I totally do. And I think, you know, we have to find moments in our life that we allow ourselves to not only reset, like you have to come up for air every now and then, but I also think that it's really important that we, as a society, we learn to not try to compare ourselves to everyone and everything else that we see in life, especially on digital. Because we see the best of everyone's lives.
It's manufactured.
It's completely manufactured, right? Like, we filter everything. We create content to look a certain way. Like, we design the tiles of our pages to give this aesthetic and this feel and everything else. It is a curated life. It's not real life. No. And so when we stare at all of this all day long, it makes us feel like who we are as a person isn't enough, and it's not curated, and it's not this beautiful picture perfect life. And so as much as we need to take a break, I also think that we need to realistically look at our lives and say, I only did like this little thing that isn't such a curated beautiful thing, but like it's my thing and it's good enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't have to be good enough for the world.
No. And if you follow me on Instagram, my tiles don't make any kind of sense. There is no aesthetic.
Right.
I don't give a shit. And that's me. And I think that's what people connect with. Like, I still gain followers. I'm not gaining followers at some crazy pace, but like, people still follow me. More people follow me. Like, I think the authenticity of me and my mess that is my life.
Right. People connect to it because it's real life, and
Yes.
they feel like they're looking at themselves as well,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And it's so important. Like, it's just comparing ourselves to other people, right? We do that. We see this content. We see the 22-year-olds in every tropical place. Their whole Instagram is them on the beach, and you're like, how the fuck do you have that much money? They probably inherited it, or they are going into major debt to get themselves to these places to create this content,
Right.
hoping that it will give them a successful enough page that they can pay that debt off and make money in return.
Right.
So, like, there are people literally throwing themselves into extreme debt to create content, hopefully to get out of extreme debt
Right.
and to gain, some form of money and financial success. It's kind of insane.
And the double entendre there
Yeah.
is that not only is it financial debt, but I feel like we all do it in an emotional debt.
Oh, such an emotional
It's
debt.
an emotional debt. Like, we are doing all of these things to show how okay we are, to try to gain all of the love and the respect and the fame and the fortune and all of the things to then make us feel like we are actually okay.
That's not how it works.
And I'm here to tell you it's okay to say, I'm not fucking okay.
Yeah.
Because none of us
never
are.
okay.
We all have things. We all have our shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more that we connect and say, like when we met and we started talking and you were like, I got some shit. And I was like, oh my God, I got some shit too,
Yeah.
right? And now we connect over our shit.
We do.
And I think if everybody was a little bit more willing to be authentic and say, like, I'm messy. I've got my shit.
Mm-hmm.
You got shit? Like, let's be friends, right?
Right.
I think the world would be a happier place.
It would be. The other thing that's really important that I want to shout out is, like, we really have to work on as a society not letting other people compare us to everybody else or make us feel like we're less than because of things. And that includes in work environments that we may be in. And I'm not necessarily speaking directly about ours, but I've
Right.
been in salons where, like, well, so-and-so is bringing in this much a week and you're not. So how do we get you there? Or like, so-and-so does this many haircuts a day and you do this many. Why aren't you doing that? Like, you're not as productive as so-and-so. And it's awful. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there are standards that you have to hit for certain jobs. Like, you can't do nothing, obviously.
Right.
But there's a difference between somebody doing 15 haircuts and somebody doing 9. If the quality of work is both really great, then that's great. Like, that person's at 9, that person's at 15, she's faster, cool. Like,
Right.
what? Like, why does everything have to be a fucking contest?
Yeah.
Like, we aren't anybody else. All we can be is ourselves. And if we're going to be truly happy and healthy, we have to live as ourselves and produce at the rate and speed that we produce quality work.
Right.
And have a quality life. And I really feel like the only people that can advocate for us are ourselves. The only time you can really do anything is when you say, no, you know what, I'm not so-and-so. Like, I'm not Caryn. I love that Caryn can do that.
Yeah.
And she's amazing. But I'm amazing too, because I do this and this and this, and it's different. But I'm not Caryn. And that's okay that I'm not Caryn, because I'm Joe.
Right.
And we have to work on that as a society, because I feel like a lot of it comes down. And that's where we learn that behavior, and that's why we look for those outlets, and we try to create that curated digital life, and we try to do that thing because somebody somewhere is fucking telling us to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody somewhere has put in our minds, like, well, Johnny did this at school and you better. Like, people do it to their kids all the time. Well, Billy got straight A's, so why did you bring home a B? Maybe because that's what he can fucking do. Or like, oh, a C isn't good enough. Maybe a C is the best that that person can do in that subject. Not everybody is made for every subject. Not everybody should fucking go to college. Like, not everybody is good at the same things. You can't teach a fish to fucking fly.
Right.
God damn it! Like, so, things like that really drive me crazy. Because if you let the fish swim, be fucking damn good.
Damn good swimmer.
But he's a shit-ass flyer.
Yeah.
And the only birds that are really amazing at swimming are penguins. I'm sure there are some other ones, but
I'm sure there's
it's
others.
what comes to mind. But they can't fly either. So expecting a penguin to fly is not going to happen. And you can't be like, well, you're a bird and all birds fly. Because a penguin don't fly.
Not true.
Soapbox.
Soapbox.
Got anything else to add to that, Caryn, my dear?
I just think that it's really important. It's something I'm learning and continue to learn every single day because of the enormous amount of people that I meet every month, every day, every week, every year, the people that I continue to meet. If I start celebrating the idiosyncrasies and all of the quirks and the, all of the fun things about other people that I don't necessarily see in myself, when I start to celebrate other people more and their talents and their achievements and the things that I think are really unique and awkward and interesting about the people that I meet, I've started to notice that I celebrate those things in myself even more. Mm-hmm. And so I think if we can look out into the world and celebrate those things in other people, then we can start to be more proud of those quirks about ourselves.
Yes.
And it is totally cyclical, right? Mm-hmm. Like when we give that to other people, we get it back, and then there's more for us to even give. So I just think in general, like, we need to open up to other people about our shit. We need to let more people know that they're not alone, that everybody's got something, and it's okay.
It's fucking okay.
It's okay.
It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to not be okay.
I don't know if you watch the show Pose, but it's a phenomenal show on FX.
I don't, but I'll check it out.
Girl, watch Pose.
Okay, I'm on it.
It's about ballroom culture in the 80s in New York.
Okay.
And like the HIV epidemic, and like that's where Vogue came from, and it's a phenomenal show. And in season 2, there's an episode at a funeral, and of a transgender character whose parents have been estranged forever, but they come to the funeral and they don't understand their child's life or anything like that because they just don't. But they go, and the mother starts bawling and feels awful, and the dad doesn't say it's going to be okay. The dad says it's already okay. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, like, it's already, like, it just hit me, like, what a thing to say. Like, instead of like, it's gonna be okay, you're gonna get through this, like, you're getting through this, like, it's happening now. We are in the present. That's the only time we literally live in. The past is fucking past. The future hasn't happened yet. I mean, time is there's a lot, like, if you're going into metaphysics, but right now we're not. And like, this is where we are at this moment, and this is the only place we can be. And it's really important to kind of remember to live in that moment.
And when you're living in that moment, like, live in that moment. That whole thing, like, that whole feeling in society that, like, well, it's going to be okay, and you just said, no, it is okay. Like, if you're having a moment, if you're going through some shit, like, be in it. Mm-hmm. Don't try to hurry past it. Like, be in it. And there will be another side of that. But I think we do try to rush through things so quickly because they're scary and they're ugly, and we're not supposed to be that way.
No.
But we're all that way about something at some point. So just be in it and own it and like go through it. And it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for watching Talk About a Tuesday. Thank you for being here, Caryn.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I love you.
I love you too.
Oh,
I wish you lived closer. I really can't wait to come out into Chicago when it's warmer.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to see things. Also to come out when we have time to see things.
Yeah.
And then I want to get your ass in Boston sometime.
I'll be there.
All right, perfect. I'll get a timeshare. All right, so thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you don't. This will also be a podcast, or it is a podcast if that's what you're listening to, for whatever your auditory or visual needs be. And I will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.